We just got Durin's full kit dropped, and it's absolutely insane. But that's not all. We also got Jahoda's confirmed team info, buffs for the Hexenzirkel members, and even a new signature weapon for Venti. Yes, our first Archon to now have 2 signature weapons. Let's get started. Starting with Jahoda's kit. She's an Anemo bow user and a healer buffer hybrid for your entire team. Her Ascension even gives her additional healing bonus, making her a true support-focused unit. Her normal attacks are pretty average, nothing too special. Her elemental skill, called Tactical Scheme Wealth Redistribution, is really interesting. When you use her skill, Jahoda swiftly dashes forward toward enemies and enters a special state called Shadow Pursuit. While in this state, she moves rapidly. If nearby enemies are affected by Pyro, Hydro, Electro, or Cryo, she secretly converts her Whirloo stash flask to that element and continues loading it. So basically, when you use her skill, she dashes forward, enters a special stage, kind of like Aeonsin, and swirls the element the enemy is affected by. For example, if the enemy is affected by Pyro, she'll swirl Pyro and deal Pyro damage. If she swirls Hydro, she'll deal Hydro damage. And if no element is present, she simply does Anemo damage. Here's how it works. When she swirls an element, she actually fills her Whirloo stash flask with that element, then fires it to deal damage. It's almost like a gun. She swirls the element to get bullets and then fires them all at once. But it gets more interesting if your team is under the Ascendant Gleam stage. In that case, after swirling the element, Jahoda holds the bullet for a few moments and deals continuous damage instead of bursting it all at once. Basically, instead of one big shot, she fires 3 to 4 smaller hits of that same element. Once she's in that state, you can even swap to your main DPS, because Jahoda continues doing off-field application while your main character attacks. Now, the number of these off-field hits isn't actually mentioned anywhere in her official kit, but from gameplay testing, it looks like she fires 3 to 4 times every 2.5 seconds. Now moving to her elemental burst. It's pretty simple. She deals a wave of Anemo damage and heals your entire team based on her attack. She also summons 2 coordinators, who continuously heal and provide off-field Anemo application by swirling elements during their attacks. Next, let's talk about her passives. After you swirl an element, Jahoda's coordinators and her own skills gain extra bonuses depending on which element you swirled. If you swirl Pyro, you gain 130% damage. If you swirl Hydro, you get 120% extra healing. If you swirl Electro, she does 1 additional hit of Electro damage from her skill. And if you swirl Cryo, the interval between her hits is reduced by 10%. If multiple elements are swirled at once, the priority order goes like this: Pyro first, then Hydro, then Electro, then Cryo. Her second passive provides plus 100 elemental mastery to the active character if their HP is above 70%. Her last passive just increases moon sign level, pretty average stuff. She also has an exploration passive, shown on screen. Overall, Jahoda looks like a dedicated healer for Nod-Krai teams, providing healing and up to 100 EM support. She'll likely fit best in Flins and Nefer teams, especially because of her EM share and VV set compatibility. However, compared to Sucrose, Jahoda still falls short in raw damage buffing, but she offers something Sucrose doesn't: reliable healing and safer rotations. Let's talk about Jahoda's Constellations. Most of them are mid. C1 adds minor bonus damage. C2 is interesting. It lets her swirl 2 elements simultaneously, which is great for reaction-heavy teams. C4 gives her extra energy, and C6, yes, another bait, adds 5% crit rate and 40% crit damage for the team. So if you're planning to pull, aim for C2 or C6. Now, some huge upcoming drops. We're finally getting a weekly boss for Rare in version 6.2 and Dottore in version 6.3. We're also getting brand new weapons, starting with a 4-star bow, Rainstring of the Rainbow Serpent. It has a base ATK of 510 and 45% energy recharge, making it Jahoda's best in slot. Its passive provides up to 5 stacks of ATK, a total of 56% for 8 seconds. This aligns with her 5-hit skill pattern, confirming that her off-field hits occur 5 times per activation. Next, we have Hexenzirkel kit changes. I'll show them on screen. Let me know in the comments if you want a dedicated breakdown video, because these changes open crazy new team options. We're also getting a new 5-star weapon for Venti, the Dawn of Distant Hymn. Its passive gives a huge 120 to 160% damage bonus after being out of combat for 3 seconds. Once in combat, the buff slowly decays every second, but it still grants massive multipliers for Venti's burst and skill damage. When his attacks hit enemies, the corresponding damage type increases again by up to 120%, and it works even while off-field. And if your team has the Arcane Right effect active, it boosts all types of team damage even further. So yeah, this looks absolutely broken for Venti's off-field setups. But now, let's talk about the real star of the patch. Durin is going to be a 5-star off-field Pyro Sword character. He can be played in a dual role, first as an off-field support, and second as an off-field damage dealer. So let's start his kit breakdown. Durin's Ascension provides him 330 base attack and 38.4% crit damage, which is pretty standard. His normal attacks are basic as usual. Coming to the most interesting part of his kit, his elemental skill, Dual Formula Fused Refinement. This has 2 forms. The first form is called Albedo Affirmation. It deals AoE pyro damage around Durin, ends the transformation, and enters the Albedo Affirmation state for 30 seconds. This state is his support form, where he provides off-field pyro application. Then the second form is Negrito Negation, which you can enter after performing a normal attack during his elemental skill. It deals 3 consecutive instances of pyro damage to enemies in front, ends the transformation, and enters the Negrito Negation state for 30 seconds. These 2 different skill states also unlock 2 different elemental bursts, so let's try to understand. First, Albedo Affirmation. You press his elemental skill, deal some damage, then use his elemental burst, which summons the White Flame Dragon, basically a white dragon that deals off-field pyro damage. The damage from this dragon is considered burst damage, and this is his support mode, providing consistent off-field pyro application with moderate damage. It performs 3 hits of damage per summon, meaning you can target up to 3 enemies at once. Now his second mode. You press elemental skill, then perform a normal attack, and then use elemental burst. This summons the Black Corrosion Dragon, or simply the Black Dragon. This is his damage-focused form. It only performs 1 hit compared to the White Dragon's 3 hits, but that single strike is much stronger than all 3 combined from his support form. His elemental skill has a 12-second cooldown, and his burst has an 18-second cooldown, which allows full uptime if used correctly. I'll be making a dedicated video on Durin soon, covering his best form, best teams, and rotations, so make sure to subscribe, it really helps. Now, coming to his passives. His first passive states that when you summon the White Dragon, his support form, if nearby teammates trigger Burning, Overloaded, Pyro Swirl, or Pyro Crystallize, the affected enemy's pyro resistance and the corresponding element's resistance decrease by 20% for 6 seconds. Whereas, if you summon the Black Dragon, Durin's Vaporize and Melt reaction damage increase by 40%. That's completely focused on his personal DPS potential as an off-field damage dealer. So yes, Durin completely power creeps Xiangling, both in pyro application and raw damage. We'll still have to wait until the full multipliers are revealed to compare him directly with Mavuika as an off-field pyro damage dealer. Coming to his second passive, while in Albedo Affirmation or Negrito Negation states, Durin's elemental burst damage is increased by 50% of his attack up to a maximum bonus of plus 1000 damage. This makes his support form viable, offering decent burst contribution while still enabling the team. His remaining passives are just exploration ones, and they're actually pretty spicy. If you want to see more gameplay, join the Discord server, link below. Now, finally, his weapon and Constellations. His signature weapon is absolutely cracked. It provides 608 base attack and 33% crit rate, but the passive takes it to another level. It increases elemental burst damage by 16%. After the elemental burst hits an opponent, it grants Daylight Blade for 3 seconds, which does the following. Increases the wielder's attack by 16% to 32% depending on refinement, Increases the attack of the on-field character, other than the wielder, by 12% to 24%. And here's the insane part. If the team has the Arcane Rite effect active, Daylight Blade's bonuses are increased by 75%. This effect still triggers even when the wielder is off-field. For those wondering what Arcane Rite means, it activates when you have at least 2 Hexenzirkel members in your team. So yes, this weapon is completely broken, unless it gets nerfed. Coming to Durin's Constellations. His C1 increases elemental burst damage by 25%. After using his burst, different effects occur depending on his form. In white form, all nearby teammates gain 12 stacks of Cycle Enlightenment for 20 seconds. When normal, charged, plunging, skill, or burst damage is dealt, 1 stack is consumed, increasing that instance's damage by 60% of Durin's attack. In black form, Durin himself gains 12 stacks for 20 seconds. When his burst damage hits, 2 stacks are consumed, increasing that hit's damage by 100% of his attack. Using his burst again refreshes the stacks. So yes, I'll be doing all the calculations for this soon in a full guide, so stay tuned. Coming to his other constellations. C2, as usual, is massive and makes Durin one of the best supports in the entire game. For 20 seconds after using his burst, when teammates trigger Vaporize, Melt, Burning, Overloaded, Pyro Swirl, or Pyro Crystallize, all nearby teammates gain plus 50% pyro damage bonus and plus 50% corresponding elemental damage bonus for 6 seconds. That's huge for older characters, though not particularly great for Nod-Krai units. His C4 makes him even more flexible. It gives a 55% chance that the 12 stacks from C1 aren't consumed, meaning you could build up to 24 stacks total, effectively doubling the 18k damage buff. And finally, C6. Durin's elemental burst damage ignores 30% of enemy defense. That's extremely rare. Only a few characters in the game have that kind of defense shred. Let me know in the comments if you can name them, one of them being Raiden. Additionally, his burst gains further enhancements. In white form, when the white flame dragon or burst hits an enemy, that enemy's defense is reduced by 30% for 6 seconds. In black form, when the black corrosion dragon or burst deals damage, it ignores an additional 40% of enemy defense. So yes, with this, we've covered Durin and Jahoda's full kits, along with all the new updates. I'll be making more detailed videos soon, so let me know what you want to see next. And yes, our giveaway is active. More info in the description. Till then, see you in the next one.